Alright, let's go. Wait. Hello and welcome back to the Project Invincible YouTube channel. My name's Nico, and in today's video we're going to be discussing why I think that block pulls don't help your deadlift. This is speaking specifically for powerlifting. So I'm going to be discussing why I think the block pull doesn't really help your actual deadlift. I'm going to be going over 3 points. Number 1, why a lot of people use it. Number 2, why I think the block pull doesn't help. And 3, when it actually can be used. So real fast, number 1, why do people use it? What is the block pull exactly? The block pull is a partial range of motion of the actual deadlift. It's when you take the barbell with the loaded plates and you actually put it at an elevation to actually cut the range of motion. This in turn simulates or replicates what it would be like to actually lock out a deadlift. It's already off the ground, so what we're trying to achieve in the block pull is actually just training the range of motion of actually locking out. So it's usually just about under the knees, and that's just the range of motion where we're actually going to be training, which is the lockout. So we're just training the lockout with a block pull. Why a lot of people actually use the block pull? It's because it's logical. The block pull is at an elevation where it eliminates having to pick it off from the ground, but it allows the lifter to continually train the upper portion of the range of motion, which is the lockout, which is a portion of the lift where a lot of people struggle with. So it's logical to continue to train this range of motion from blocks. The only thing I'm saying is that it's providing a false sense of accomplishment or improvement, because you can certainly lock out more than 100% of your 1 rep max, but you still can't lock out from the ground. If you can lock out more than 100% of your 1 rep max, but you can't take your 1 rep max and lock it out as smooth as you did from the ground, there's something wrong and there's an underlying factor that hasn't been addressed yet. So number 2, why don't I think it helps? The truth is, block pulls don't necessarily help your lockout. Training a block pull will usually just make you really good at block pulling. You don't lock out deadlifts because your lockout is trash. It's because you have a positional error or there's a technical error during the execution from the ground. It's impossible to create the same position from the ground as you do in the block pull. Well, not impossible, but it's quite hard to make it identical in both of the movements. Because you're in a more advantageous position in the block pull, it doesn't usually translate to the ground because you can't always achieve the same positioning. So let me reiterate the point. I'm going to show you a quick video of what I'm talking about, and then I'll explain in further detail in a video following after. So in this example, I'm attempting a 620 deadlift, and all my deadlifts leading up to this top load look golden, but for some reason I couldn't finish this. So let's take a second and rewind. Pay attention to the initiation of the lift. Without a doubt, this weight is lockable. However, due to a positional error during the execution, I locked the knees just a little early and allowed the body to pitch forward, making my only option to really just lift this by doing a giant back extension. The point is here that no matter how much I block pull, it still wouldn't address the issue presented here. The fact of the matter is that block pulls are not specific to the goal you have intent on developing. The position you block pull in is unlikely to be the position that you achieve during a deadlift from the ground. So here's another example. Here I am at HQ deadlifting from both the floor and from blocks. This is my most repeatable technique across most loads and even near my 1 rep max. And here is my block pull technique. I froze this frame here because this is the exact height that I pull from blocks. As you can see, my hips are a little closer to the barbell in the block pull than my pull from the ground. What does this mean though? It means that I am in a significantly more advantageous position in the block pull than from the floor. The mechanics are not specific to my form from the ground. Like I said before, it's pretty hard to achieve the identical position you do in block pulls and in deadlifting from the ground. In my experience from using block pulls in training, I can rip fairly heavy loads with tremendous speed, but it does not equate necessarily to my deadlifting from the ground in most cases. It's simply my ability to pull from blocks and not my ability to necessarily lock out. A high degree of specificity is not present in the block pull. And my third point, when can it be used and when do I use it? In this video, I'm just presenting specific reasons as to why I think it yields less success than what is more commonly thought in the block pull. So to continue, So my reasons for using the block pull and like when it can be used, I have a few specific reasons. So for example, I like using block pulls for developing strength in their grip. I think it's a great utensil for developing grip strength. I like it for lifters to use a block pull to develop confidence, especially having the confidence to have closer to their 1 rep max in their hand or exceeding their 1 rep max in their hands. They get the sensation of being able to hold heavy weight, so it makes pulling from the ground a little bit easier because they have a little bit more mental confidence approaching the weight. And 3, I think it's a great teaching utensil for developing the motor patterns to execute the sumo deadlift in the block pull. And lastly, I think I'm going to contradict myself, but I think it's a really great utensil for developing lockout strength. I went into the specifics as to why the block pull doesn't help your lockout, but I still think that the block pull develops lockout strength because it's still training the musculature needed for achieving the deadlift lockout. I went into depth concerning the technical errors that the block pull does and why it doesn't necessarily achieve a better lockout, but I still think that the block pull has a place in training for actually developing the musculature of locking out. Okay, so to wrap up this video, I went over 3 points, which were why people use the block pull, why I think the block pull doesn't work, and when you can actually use the block pull. So that's really it. My name's Nico. This is Project Invincible. If you enjoyed the video or you learned something new, please help me out by sharing the video, liking, and commenting what you actually think about block pulls, or if you think I'm kind of dumb. That's okay. Alright, I'll check in with you guys soon. Thanks for watching.